Good morning, good afternoon. This is Jillian. Really, it's not good afternoon, it's good morning, but it's different times, different places. So yeah, Sunday morning, I wasn't really planning to do Sunday morning because I was just thinking I was going to do other stuff, but a project came up for my husband, so I'll let him do that. But yeah, I wanted to really focus on predisposition because yet again, the predisposition is inevitable, especially in humanity. And so the only way we're going to stop predisposition if we stop reproducing and we stop dying. And right now, obviously, it's not happening anytime soon. Maybe there's a few of us that are attempting to try to stop the aging process, but you got to go through the healing process. And going through the healing process is not easy. Some people start this protocol and they stop it. But what is the healing process? Well, the healing process is when you actually have to feel pain, but you're applying the right chemistry that brings it up. And then you have to figure out how much you can stand to heal, and then how you then manage your daily life so it doesn't get in the way, because some of you are so far gone that, and you have so many commitments and so many things that you are distracted by, that you stop and start the healing process and then take yourself back behind the 8 ball, try to start it again, and it just becomes increasingly more difficult to stay on the healing process, the protocol. So then you just kind of get caught up in the distractions. It's easier to take drugs. It's easier to do all of your pills, powder, supplements, and detoxes and exercise regimes and activism than it is to actually pull back out of the politics and just pay attention to yourself and your family. And so anyway, so the whole thing of blaming your predisposition on vaccines, chemtrails, 5G, what else? Monsanto, your neighbor, Republicans, Democrats, the Tories, the whoever. I mean, it's become a major multi-billion-dollar industry blaming your predisposition on something. But here's the thing. I mean, I'm watching, hanging out with my husband, and he tends to watch things that are different than me. He watches the MTV ridiculousness. He watches Jackass, I guess, if it was on. And I'm not exactly I don't really watch that stuff, but I think it's funny because he likes to watch the videos on YouTube that has to do with people that do stupid stuff and they fall and they create trauma on their body. And they get up and they drink or they guzzle all this beer. And I'm not saying that he does that, but he finds those videos funny. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just looking from the standpoint of, my God, these people are procreating. These people are creating trauma on their body and they're having children. No wonder our youth is kind of messed up because they're creating predisposition as we speak. And so that is a chain reaction that never gets interrupted. And so this is why you're seeing progressively every generation become worse and worse, because a lot of our society does really stupid stuff, or not just doing stupid stuff, but they play aggressive sports, or they work out to such an extent, or they're taking therapies and re-traumatizing the body. And so it creates predisposition. And then, of course, viruses will never, ever go out of existence, are always going to be around. Well, viruses are life's balancing force, and they go exploit the weaknesses, which means that they're going to find the weaknesses in your body and then attempt to recycle you back into the universe. Though people have found ways through modern medicine to stop that death process temporarily, prolong your life for a very short amount of time, considering relative to the span of what you could possibly be living up to. And then they kind of get their life back a little bit, but they're a little bit worse than they were before, but they're still alive. And yes, they're able to kind of go back to their old life and say, I beat cancer, I beat this, I beat that. But then in the end, they still end up where they were supposed to be way back when they were diagnosed. Okay? And so the anti-vaccine doctors know about predisposition, but they're trying to blame people's predisposition on vaccines. However, vaccines, okay, are like your environment. They have viruses, they have elements, they have bacteria that you're going to be exposed to anyways. And so it's just a replication of your environment that you're going to be exposed to. It's like a preemptive, proactively exposing you to something that you're going to be exposed to at some point. And rather you die from an aggressive disease in your environment, at least now you're I would say, helping your body transition to the new atmosphere, so to speak. And so in a lot of ways, Jilly Juice is not anti-vax and we're not pro-vax, okay? Jilly Juice is not anti-vax or pro-vax. We understand why they exist and why both sides exist. But in reality, Jilly Juice is going to help a person transition and strengthen the body regardless. And so that way you can be exposed to whatever environment. So as long as it's not overwhelming the body, and transition nicely, and you could be asymptomatic without taking aggressive protocols that inhibit the healing process or the prostaglandin hormone. And so, you know, when I'm watching, like, somebody say, like, oh yeah, this lady Suzanne Humphreys, she's being knocked off of Facebook, and she's like this doctor, she's gray hair, she's aging, and she's trying to blame the vaccines or capitalize on blaming the environment, blaming the vaccines for predisposition, but yet she's been predisposed and she could blame the vaccines. So could Aaron from HealthNet News blame all the vaccines. But when you think about it, way back prior to modern medicine, way back prior to the settlement of the West, okay, before the Spanish came in, let's say to the Bay Area, California, there have been civilizations that have thrived without modern medicine. They had clean water. They didn't have GMO, okay, whatever that is, okay. They didn't have Monsanto, but they were able to thrive based upon the cycle of their food supply, their environment, and they adapted very nicely until this is why we have modern medicine, because then the Spanish came in with all of their excess information, data, bacteria, viruses, and this is when epidemics and large swaths of population were torn down because they did not have the environment to handle that new information, okay? And so we live in a global society, and we have to know how to transition when there's new viruses that come to surface, because we don't always have the same viruses. There's always new viruses that come out there that are discovered. And right now, Netflix and all of that are reflecting the fear around the measles, okay, or any kind of virus, or fear around the Ebola, which you should be, because right now we have people with weak bodies, okay? And so, fear and blaming people's predisposition has become multi-billion-dollar industry. That I'm seeing the exodus of the EMF crowd, who are so afraid of the 5G, saying, oh my God, Zuckerberg is trying to stop us from free speech, and so they are squelching our information, and so now we have to like MeWe or some other kind of platform. And I'm like, you guys are really should not be doing that. And I'll tell you why. Because what happens when you start preaching to the same people, the same choir, nobody gets any new information in. Because now that you're taking yourself off of Facebook and you're putting yourself in a place where everyone is preaching to the choir, then what happens, is that the death trajectory becomes faster and faster, because guess what these people are doing in these EMF crowds, these vegan and vegetarian crowds, these anti-chemtrails crowds and anti-5G and anti all this stuff, they start applying aggressive remedies. They're applying the vegan and vegetarian to their kids, where they're basically starving their children from the proper nutrients. They are applying aggressive remedies such as kombucha, apple cider vinegar, the turmeric and the honey, and then even, I guess some say, like miracle mineral solution, which is a form of an aggressive elements put together. I mean, they're shoving baking soda down their kids' throat. I mean, there's so many things that the holistic world, who is now going to such an extreme, they are being cracked down on, and they should, because these people don't realize that they have so many predispositions they don't even know they have, And they have all this fear, and I don't know who originated this fear against vaccines and 5G and all that stuff, but they have all these fears, and they have predispositions that never got resolved. And then they're taking these chemistries, these highly volatile types of chemistry that is high concentrations of fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals, which the body's made up of. But these types of detoxes or they are discriminating against food, and they won't allow their kids to have milk or meat or anything like that. Then you start seeing the starvation of people who are already totally weak. And I'm like, you guys, okay, and I'm going into this EMF post, but someone's saying like, oh yeah, everybody go get this link to get to this site that will allow you to say whatever you want. But I'm telling you, you know, there's going to be people who are going to infiltrate that. They're going to be watching those people. And then guess what? Public pressure as well as the government is going to then crack down on those alternative sites. And then it's going to do the same thing over again, where they're going to be censoring stuff. They're going to be taking posts down, because you're seeing already people are going to such extremes when it comes to pain mitigation. Okay, that's why you're not supposed to be recommending any remedy for pain mitigation unless you're a doctor. Why? Because a doctor will figure out your biochemistry and figure out if this drug or this detox or this tincture is going to be enough for you to give you what you want, but it won't hurt you prematurely. What do you mean by hurt you? It means that it won't trigger a predisposition prematurely to where then you have to go and get more of an aggressive drug. Okay? And so right now what's going on is the allopathic, the holistic world and the off-grid people are actually triggering their predisposition prematurely, because they have no idea how to apply these remedies, these detoxes, these pills, powders, and supplements. And then they're blaming it on the 5G, they're blaming it on everything. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the whole thing with the J juice is I had to clarify to people about what salt is, because there's still people under the impression that salt is poisonous, because they see that it's a main ingredient in so many different poisons out there, in like rat poison or in industrial use products. And I'm telling you, salt is the most abundant mineral on this earth. There's a reason behind why salt exists. Salt is energizing force, and relative to its intention, it energizes minerals, it energizes elements. However, it's how you use it and why you use it is what makes the difference between poison and not poison. So when something is FDA approved, it means that it is relatively safe for the general population. And if somebody says that this is not for human consumption, and yes, sodium chloride is one of the main ingredients in this rat poison, but it's not for human consumption. So obviously you're not going to eat rat poison. But if you see in a recipe, or you see in the back of a can where it says, okay, Campbell soup has this much sodium, this much that, it's obviously safe enough to eat because it's FDA approved. You're like, oh, well, the FDA approves this and they approve that and it causes this and causes that. Well, there's always going to be 32% of the population that is not going to fit within a specific characterization of how a drug is going to affect you, because we have so many different biochemistries. So if you're looking for someone to mitigate pain, and you want someone to take away all your pain, and you want the shortcut, you don't want to actually really heal your body, then you're going to have to roll the dice with the drugs on the market, with the pills and the powders and the supplements and all of that, and hope that you're not the 68% that's getting the adverse reactions. You hope to be the 32%. But no matter what, whenever you mitigate pain and you do all these different types of protocols that take away organs, that suppress the prostaglandin hormone, you're always going to risk then triggering another predisposition that you're creating right now with the therapies, or that's in your family genetic history, or whatever you did a couple years ago when you were in an accident. Okay? And so that's why these anti-vax holistic professionals make a shit ton of money off of the fear of the population. And so that's why I'm not impressed with the anti-vax doctors that say, oh yeah, because they know about predisposition. If you're a doctor, you know about predisposition. You know why vaccines exist, because it's all about chemistry, biochemistry, exposure to viruses, predisposition. And they know that if you have something in your family medical history, that's going to come up at some point. But they then take it to the next level by then saying, okay, well, you know, we don't like these aggressive pharmaceutical grade antibiotics. Well, what is an antibiotic? It's anything that the body already has imbalances that then you're taking some kind of conglomeration of fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, or minerals that is going to then make your body completely more imbalanced to where it suppresses the healing process. It causes an upset of homeostasis. And that's why they're cracking down on the stem cells, because stem cells upset homeostasis may give you a potential stay of execution or give you some kind of range of motion in your arm if you're taking stem cells for your arm, but you don't know how that is going to affect your biochemistry in the long run, because remember, everything is connected. Stem cells are being brought in to modify your biochemistry, and when everything is connected, you don't know what kind of chain reaction is going to happen as far as other systems being affected, and who knows what new exotic diseases will come out of these stem cell therapies. So this is why the FDA is cracking down, because it hasn't been tested long enough, and even if it was tested long enough, bodies are that much weaker every generation because we keep procreating on bodies that are that weak. And people are still living in the fear. They're still activists. They're not doing the J juice, okay, because they're afraid, they don't like the taste of it. And it's easier to be fearful and take your kombucha, apple cider vinegar, and your painkillers than it is to actually pull stuff out of the war and fight for yourself and for your family. And so I kind of feel bad for those that have been exposed to J juice but are not really doing it at the level that they should. I feel bad because it's harder every single time you get off the protocol, because you're still degrading at an exponential rate because you haven't gone to the root cause to fix the weakness. Because here's the thing, once you actually fix your gut, once you actually heal and seal your gut, which is 20 feet of small intestine, and that's where the waterfalls come in, that's where the pain and all the different migraines, everything that happens when you're going through the initial process, then you still got to systematically strengthen all the weaknesses that you have inherited as well as what you've created in your whole lifetime. Okay? And so it sucks. It really sucks for people who are that far gone and that are so completely like, they have so many commitments and so many things that they have to take care of that they don't have time to put forth to the healing process. And so they're progressively becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. And that is what's going on. And then they want to blame their environment. Well, what they should blame is their lack of focus on their body. And yeah. So it's unfortunate that people's predisposition that they've created themselves because they never got to the root cause, they're going to blame it on everything around them. They're not going to do too much about their own situation, obviously. They're going to put fear about the salt because the salt, what it's paired with is what the difference is, okay? When you pair salt with fluoride, which fluoride is one type of mineral that when you have so many parts per million, of course, it's going to be acidic. When you only have salt and no water, no anything else, and you put it on a snail, it's going to dissolve the snail. It's going to dehydrate it, okay? But with the J juice, you pair it with the water, with the cabbage and the kale and the fermentation, all of that. There's a whole different chemical process that goes on. But out there in the fear world, they think they are taking elements and compartmentalizing them and looking at them as if that's what people are actually doing, is just putting high concentration of fluoride. When fluoride is a mineral, your teeth are made up of minerals. That's what came from the whole fluoride in the toothpaste, is the fact that your teeth are made up of a lot of minerals, and they figured out that there is a one predominant mineral, which is fluoride, but you already have so many imbalances that with even the industry, the allopathic industry and the holistic industry, they're taking in large amounts of condensed minerals and fatty acids and amino acids and prohormones, and they're putting on bodies that are already deficient. And so that's why you're seeing then the systematic degradation of the bodies out there, because you guys are ultimately responsible for balancing out your own hormones, balancing out your biochemistry. The system can only give you so much help to maintain your daily life, but ultimately at some point it's up to you. And so we figured this out. We've given people now an opportunity to look at pain in a totally different way. Because let me tell you, even with all the painkillers and all your prescription drugs and all the cannabis and the detoxes, they only last so long. Because remember, upset homeostasis is temporary. Sometimes it might last a year. It might last 5 weeks. It may last 10 years as far as the population goes, because you don't know, to what extent of the damage is done to the population until you hear about a recall. But during the time between you take the drug and when it gets recalled, there were people reporting major adverse reactions, but it wasn't enough to recall until they reach a certain percentage of the population, and then they recall it. So you have no idea how much you can handle the detoxes, the prescription drugs, the protocols, the stem cell therapies. You're just rolling the dice, but you have no idea what your biochemistry is. Okay, so every single time you play with pain mitigation, medication, opioids, detoxes, cannabis, you're bringing yourself that much closer to where you don't want to be. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of interesting watching these holistic professionals playing these games of, oh yeah, it's all about blaming the holistic or the allopathic industry. The holistic industry does the same thing, but if not worse, because people then start overdoing it with their yoga. They overdo it with their stretching. They overdo it with their kombucha, their turmeric, their apple cider vinegar, their bentonite clay. What else do they overdo it with? They overdo it with all these different holistic remedies on the market that claim all these benefits. Still, I was caught up in that cancer is a fungus. Cancer is not a fungus. Cancer is basically viruses exploiting a weak body. Okay, when you have weaknesses from being a jackass jumping off your roof with a bike, okay, and then you have major, damage from, not major, but you have, trauma. Okay, yeah, you may heal and you can still walk, but there's trauma, there's a weakness there. And every single year, that weakness becomes progressively worse. And then you're still exposed to viruses. And then guess what? Then you start seeing then the cancer disease, chronic illness, as well as pains and arthritis and all these different things come to surface, because the holistic industry then says, okay, well, the allopathic's so horrible, so take our stuff. And then people go overboard because they think it's natural. But everything is broken down to an elemental composition, to the periodic tables. What you're all basically a victim of is marketing. And that's why I figured this out with the J juice, is I broke everything down to a chemical composition, got rid of the brainwashing of, oh, it's holistic, oh, it's allopathic, oh, it's this. And it's all chemistry. Everything is made up of fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. All biodiversity is. And then the body is made up of fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. And then you have specific imbalances that cause you then to go into yoga or to go into all your different remedies. And then you're taking all of these different things, causing more imbalances. And then you're that much closer to death. And then you think my stuff that brings up all the weaknesses is so poisonous, when you actually have been slowly and then exponentially degrading your body even that much more. Especially if you're in the holistic industry claiming to be so healthy, doing yoga, hot yoga no less. So that actually depletes your electrolytes. So you're losing electrolytes, you're losing water, you're losing nutrients. And then you already have leaky gut you sustain, because that's why you're doing yoga to begin with. You're never going to get from behind that 8 ball. And then you'll get progressively worse and worse and worse. And then you wonder why. Then you start blaming the chemtrails. You start blaming the 5G. You start blaming everything around you. But you don't realize that your yoga, your hot yoga, your sauna, your running, your exercising, all these different things that are basically leaching out all of those electrolytes is actually the one that's causing you to then trigger your predisposition that much earlier. And so if I can get you before you actually destroy yourself to a complete, like where it's no kind of return, I've done at least something for you guys. But some of you are so stubborn, and you make too much money off your friends selling them subscriptions to your yoga classes, to your hot sauna classes, to your exercise regimes. And then you'll justify death, because it's easier to justify death than to actually say, maybe I was wrong all this time. It's easier to justify death and the aging process than it is to say to all of your clients, hey, I think I'm destroying you with my thought process. And then, yeah, you're going to be then giving up money. You're not going to risk the money from all your clients who are playing the same game. You're not going to risk your standing in the community. So yeah, there are people that are going to justify death until they die because this is what they make their money off of. And I know it and you know it. Okay? So it is what it is. But here's the thing. Time will only tell. There's enough of us doing the protocol to see how this is going to affect all different types of people in all different types of climates and continents. Okay? And so that's why I'm on Facebook. I'm not in some, website anymore. Okay? Because everything is public. Everybody can see exactly what we're experiencing. The FBI knows exactly what I'm doing, because when some idiot tried to email me and try to threaten me and all this other stuff, but then I asked, well, where is this volatile, violent behavior coming from? And then finally we got into a conversation. He said, well, what's the thing with the salt, with the waterfalls, all that stuff? And I attempted to explain to him, and I CC'd the FBI agent. So they know exactly that this guy's being a jackass. Please investigate him if you think this is warranting something that is credible, as well as this is what I'm talking about. But, I'm on Facebook. The FBI agent's on Facebook. They have access to everything, okay? If I was doing anything illegal, if this is totally poisonous, they would have already had, evidence. They would already had indicted me. They would have already brought this to the prosecutor's office. They would have had me on, indicted by a grand jury. I would have been in jail with restitution to pay to the community. But that's not happening because cabbage water and salt that's fermented is not poisonous. Why do you feel pain when you're doing cabbage water and salt? Because you're supposed to feel pain. You have been inhibiting your healing process for freaking years because of your trendy wanting to make money, and you don't know any better, and you don't want to, take the time to actually heal. And it's easier to bring up hormones that will make you feel pleasurable or make you look cute because you have a six-pack. It's easier to do that than to actually be an ugly duckling for a minute and let all of your actual weaknesses come to surface, not hide behind cute bodies and makeup and plastic surgery and lifestyle, but you actually heal from the inside out, not from the outside in and then die anyways. And a lot of you are going down that road, and all of us are watching you as you're watching me. But remember, time is the actual judge. So yeah, you can all look at me as I'm entertainment. That's fine. But in reality, if you're aging and degrading and you're managing your cancer, disease, and chronic illness with pills, power supplements, and detoxes, you're not exactly exemplifying a healthy person. Okay? And that's what it comes down to, is longevity, health, vitality, completely aligned in body, mind, and spirit, where you're not saying, okay, the body, mind can go, but the spirit can stay alive. That's someone who doesn't want to change will justify that death process. And there are a lot of people out there that don't want to change because they have painted themselves in such a very tight corner. They can't afford to go against their mantra. And so I recognize how much of a billion-dollar industry propagating and blaming for predisposition is. I mean, when you're paralyzed, when you have, all these different disabilities, you were saved by modern medicine, because let me tell you, if you had that same body, that same situation out there like in Liberia, you wouldn't be here. But the fact that you guys are alive, despite your disabilities, whatever they are, it means that modern medicine gave you a chance at life. And now you have a chance to then allow the body to regenerate the cells and the organs and wake up parts of your body that have been asleep for freaking years. When you're paralyzed, those parts of your body have been asleep for years because of the predisposition from your family medical history, genetic history, and no one has corrected it. But they worked with your disability. They worked with your weaknesses. And some people are very successful based upon what they're doing with their life, with their weaknesses. Like Stephen Hawking, that's the extreme side of it. When Stephen Hawking can't do anything but speak through a microphone, but his brain was alive, that shows that you can be amazing even with a disability. But now let's take it to a step further. Let's wake up that which has been asleep for freaking years in your life. That's the whole point of J juice, is that when you feel pain on the J juice, because it's not poisonous, but you're supposed to heal, and it's fermented cabbage water and salt, okay, pink salt. When you feel pain, you're waking things up. That's the whole point of J juice, is feeling pain with something that is not poisonous. My juice has been tested in a lab, okay? It has 13 million colony forming units of lactobacillus. Okay, so if a good bacteria like lactobacillus, which basically lactic acid probiotic, that is then offset with the water and the salt and the cabbage and all that and the kale, when you bring those together, that's not poisonous. That's all nutrition. And that is then, when it's fermented to a pre-digested state, it actually feeds the body, feeds the cells. And when you're doing waterfalls, you're still getting the electrolytes that's basically feeding your cells, energizing the nutritional elements in the cabbage water and salt. And then the body's releasing that which is causing the sleepiness or the anesthetization of your cells. So when you feel pain, you're finally allowing the prostaglandin hormone to come to surface and heal that which has not been healed for so many years. And so I know it's crazy to say, oh, how can you reverse paralysis? Well, you know, we have been upsetting homeostasis for a long time, trying to modify people's symptoms. And so if we can stop a symptom or create erections from erectile dysfunction drugs, then yes, with the right chemistry, we can wake up bodies that have been asleep for years. Not saying like wake you from the dead, but if your vital organs are pumping, but you just don't have real good use of your legs or your arms, but you still have vital organs, your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver are the main things, and your gut are the main things that keep you alive, okay? And then it sends messages off to your extremities and to the parts of your body that have been asleep to then start waking them up. It's like what is Sleeping Beauty? The J juice is like waking up Sleeping Beauty in a lot of ways. But people are so afraid of pain that they are willing to go to great lengths to take drugs, to go and fight against anything that would remotely make them feel uncomfortable. And I understand that, because there are very nefarious people that have dealt with drugs that have caused deaths in people. But the J juice is not poisonous. That's why I was so vetted out by the FBI, by the Ohio Attorney General. I mean, yes, I went through an interrogation. Even though I was reporting a death threat, they still interrogated me because they read everything. They read all the freaking internet. They know exactly what people's perception of me was. They watched the Dr. Phil, okay? They saw the whole thing with the OAG. Cleveland 19, my own local TV show, did a little segment on me. They're like, well, what the hell? This is before I turned in my report to the OAG, okay? So everybody knows about me, and it's not poisonous. So now if you realize that it's not poisonous and you're feeling pain, maybe you should feel pain, and maybe you should wake up parts of your body that's been asleep. This could change the course of humanity. No, I'm not a doctor, but doctors suppress pain. Doctors mitigate pain. That's what doctors are there for, is to basically cater to what you want without killing you right off the bat. Okay? So, but doctors don't want to hurt you. They're there to basically figure out what kind of chemistry that will stop the pain, because you don't want to feel pain, but that won't kill you right off the bat. But then, yes, you're then going to create another predisposition based upon those drugs and those pharmaceuticals and diets and whatever else they're putting out there. So the J juice is completely the opposite of that. No, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be anybody's doctor. This information is something that you either learn or you don't learn. You either accept it or you don't accept it. And then the outcome is based on your choices. And so I had the luxury enough to be married to someone who is willing to work his ass off for himself and for me and for my dog Sugar, to give me this opportunity to really understand how this affects the body. And yes, you'll be understanding pooping. I mean, I poop at least twice a day, because when you have so much poop in your system, it causes DNA methylation, and it causes then crazy imbalances that do affect then all of your 11 different systems and organs. Okay, so when you get rid of it, and you're not, this is not a laxative, we're not taking something that's just going to stimulate your intestines, this actually is a complete body autophagy, where it releases and disassembles all of the cells that have been negatively mutated. And then you have all the different excess acids in your body, fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. All the excess is being released, and then the right balance is being absorbed, and that's why you feel the pain, because now finally you're experiencing the healing process. And so you saw how much of the healing I had to go through as far as even getting this information out to people. But once I ripped the Band-Aid off, or ripped the scab, or ripped off the scab, or ripped off the Band-Aid off the wound, and just let everything kind of go and let the air get to it, and it kind of hurts, but it's healing. Now I'm in a much better place. Because let me tell you, during my healing process and introducing this at the same time, it was a very painful time for all of you. But at some point, you will reap the peace. But you got to earn it. For you to actually live to where you're pain-free and you're not worried about triggering cancer disease and chronic illness, and all of that, and the aging process, and that whole strokes and heart attacks, which is the #1 thing that kills people, when you actually don't have to worry about that anymore, now you can relax and take your time with whatever venture that you want to embark upon. But you have to earn it. It doesn't come for free. Nothing on this earth comes for free. Maybe temporarily for a minute, but then somehow you're gonna have to pay the piper. Some of you are gonna pay the piper sooner than later. Okay? So, you know, it's worth doing the protocol even a little bit, staying on it, dealing with the pain, finding the times that you can do it, and then report on it if you want, to give other people the opportunity to see the possibility. But it's up to you guys. But yeah, but the blaming your predisposition, because let me tell you, every single time you procreate on bodies that are weak, the next generation becomes weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's why you're seeing every flu season, every generation is progressively worse than the last. And then every single time a generation dies off, they call it the end times. Okay? Every single time a generation starts really dying off, then the end times people come out of the woodwork and they start preaching the end times revelations. Okay? Those that don't feel that that's appropriate for them, or even, you know, is relative to them or associated with them, they'll be like, okay, those are weird people. I'm not associating myself with those people. And others that are on the same death trajectory, that are at the end of their generation, okay, they will go and regurgitate the same thing. Okay? So I'm 45 years old and I'm watching a 90s movie called First Wives Club, and they're saying, oh, I'm 45 years old, I'm over the hill. I'm like, I'm 45 years old. I don't feel over the hill. I feel like I'm still in my 30s. If this is what 45 feels like, and I'm not like bemoaning my situation, whatever it is, I'm not on my second husband. Well, maybe I am on my second husband. But yeah, I mean, but still, I'm not feeling like a 45-year-old would out there in the matrix, alternative matrix. Okay, so it's like, what is 45 supposed to feel like? Well, you know, when your telomeres, because we really can't gauge what normal is in our society as far as how to feel at each age, because people are progressively becoming worse and worse, and the next generation is developing even faster and faster and faster, to where now they're like, you know, college graduates at 9 years old, right? Which means that they're going to have a shortened lifespan because they're getting that closer to death. You know, when kids are getting their menses at like 9 or 10 years old, that means they're closer to death, because now the body knows it's really under a death trajectory. It needs to drop states quickly to mitigate extinction. Okay? So it's really hard to say what a 45-year-old is supposed to be actually feeling like this day and age, because I'm seeing my age group looking like they're like my parents. Big dudes and beards that have like all this black and white, you know, speckles, and you've seen the minerals being depleted because you're seeing gray hair come all over the place. And that lets you know that the body is now under a malabsorption rate that is stealing resources from the hair, skin, and nails. And And I'm looking at my people my age, 45 years old, going like, damn, those guys look old. What the hell? So it will be the telomeres that will tell you your true health. And those telomeres can be based upon the way you can kind of see perspective on telomeres is the average person in our society. What does a 25-year-old look like in our society? And 25 really isn't 25-year-old. 25, maybe 25 is a new 35. Because kids are looking so much older because they are aggressively aging faster and faster. I don't even know how old these kids are anymore. No wonder there's so many different weirdos out there that are targeting young kids, because they don't even know how old these kids are unless they ask them what their age is. That's why you're seeing such a craziness when it comes to these predator stuff, because kids nowadays do not look their age. They are looking older and older and older. So now with my telomeres, would my telomeres replicate a 25-year-old back in the 80s? Probably. Or a 30-year-old. Okay? So, I'm just an indicator letting you know to what extent you guys are damaging yourself by not doing the J juice. And yes, pain's involved. I will never lie to you, say that J juice is easy, because it's not. And if you have thyroid issues, if you have pain and all different things, and cabbage and kale and salt affect you, and you don't want to feel pain, then don't do the protocol. Just stay on your regular trajectory and accept your position in life. But I'll tell you this, cabbage, not even fermented cabbage, but just cabbage itself cleans you out. Cabbage actually fills in the holes in your gut. Vitamin U is for the ulcers in your gut, for any kind of issues in your gut. Cabbage. That's why this is so revolutionary, because cabbage already, even prior to fermentation, okay, sauerkraut has been always known to help people with their gut, even as a remedy, okay? So imagine taking the cabbage and the kale and then the pink Himalayan salt and the water, and it's fermented, and it has a right balance of chemistry to fit your biochemistry. Imagine the healing, the exponential healing that happens. Okay, and so it's going to help your thyroid, but yes, you're going to feel pain. You're going to feel pain in your thyroid. You're going to be pooping your brains off. You're going to be feeling everything that's you're going to be going through an exorcism. That's the only way I can really characterize a J juice. It's like going through an exorcism. And you watch The Exorcist. So, you got to put time in. Some of you will not put the time to go through the pain process. Some of you will. Some of you won't. Some of you, it's just too late for you, because of the way in which you painted yourself in a corner, financially as well as social wise, as well as, yeah. So, yeah, I know there's people that have been on my protocol. They're in these exercise gurus that do a little exercise at home. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm this really great mom, and I do all these exercises, and this is how you live healthy, and they're steadily aging. And you're like, yeah, you're not going to want to compromise your position as this healthy mom that does all this clean eating, okay? You're not going to want to compromise that. So that's why I have haters, because they know they've painted themselves in a corner. For them to actually say that the exercise is going to do you in, because let me tell you, if they start looking younger and they stop doing all the exercises, and if you really are a true honest person and you do the J juice and you realize the exercises are really doing you in, I wouldn't think you would lie to your clientele to say that the exercises are going to make you younger, make you healthier, when you know for a fact those exercises have actually caused the acceleration of the aging process. If there's anyone out there that's doing the J juice that is actively lying to their clientele by promoting whatever they're promoting, that's totally the antithesis of healing, there's a lot more wrong with them. And it really is about money. So if you're in the health and wellness field, and you're promoting all of these pain mitigation protocols and exercise regimes and hot yoga and all that stuff, you are causing the acceleration of the aging process in your family and friends. You know it, because you're steadily aging. When you actually stop with all those pain mitigation protocols, and you stop with the exercise regimes, and you stop with all of those things, and you actually do the J juice, and you heal, and you go through the exorcism, I guess, so to speak, you're going to realize that really you're going to know just at the root level that everything that you've been selling to your friends and family completely is destructive. And you're gonna have to change your tune. But yeah, you know, remember, it's the almighty dollar. It's better to sacrifice your friends and family than it is to actually be honest with them. It's better to deny my information and justify, oh, salt is poison, when it really isn't, than to actually change the way in which you do business. Okay, so it's not trendy anymore to do all your exercise stuff, your yoga stuff, to do all your little pills, power supplements, and do all these different, you know, fear factor stuff. It's not trendy anymore. Now it's becoming downright annoying because you have nothing is changing. I mean, how many times are you going to be like bitching at the skies? How many times are you going to bitch about 5G? Change is going to happen whether you like it or not. And if you can't handle it, then you know what? You're not going to be able to handle the new society. You won't adapt. You won't survive it. It's obvious. Okay? The collective will keep governments, like real, true, corrupt governments, at bay. We've gone through too much crazy history to allow really bad history to happen again. Right now, we're watching in China right now with the people who are separatists that don't want to follow the party line. And yeah, they're being re-educated, but it hasn't reached a pitch level to where the United Nations are come in and step in. Okay? But the West has already been through their bullshit. Maybe the East, the Asian countries have to go through their bullshit. I don't know. I mean, you think of China, North Korea, and all that. Okay? So just trust the West, trust your government, trust the fact that there is a specific formula out there that you can take on and go through the healing process. Trust that you know, that your gut knows. Take a break, you know, when you don't have to go and work out every freaking day doing hot yoga, when you don't have to go and do all these exercise regimes or play the clean eating thing. When you have access to something that can give you some kind of minerals on reserve to heal and seal, you know, that's the gift of life that will keep on giving. But, you know, we have a lot of drug addicts in our society, and that's what's unfortunate, and that's what I got to watch is the drug addicts. Because drug addicts, they don't want to feel anything. They chase the high, they chase the oxytocin, they chase the adrenaline, and then they fall over dead. I don't want that for any of you. Anyways, I'm going to go. Have a good day, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.